The other one with the beard.
Yeah,
Was
it's
it
good.
James and Jeff and John and Jerry and Jack?
I knew you'd come
Some
up
of
with
those names
names.
are
I
right.
knew you would. I knew
Some
you
of
would.
those names
Your
work,
chair
don't
is
they?
not here. Your chair, they've gotten rid of your
Really?
chair, though. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm going to be there later in the week, so get that chair back, okay? James, Jerry, Jack, Jeff, and Joe.
Got the
Welcome
beard.
to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Celtics and Oilers both need a ring. Coco Gauff gets Iga Swiatek, and whatever happened to the big golf merger. But we begin today with defending champion Novak Djokovic withdrawing from the French Open with a knee injury. Djokovic aggravated the injury yesterday in his second straight five-set win. At a press conference last night, Djokovic suggested he might not be able to go. Djokovic was the top seed. Wilbon, are you more focused on the small picture of where this leaves the men's draw or the big picture of where it leaves Djokovic?
Tony, I care not one bit, not one morsel about the small picture. Even about this particular French Open, some of which I'm watching, I don't care. I do care about the passing of a generation. And I understand these are still young now, unbelievably rich people when you're talking about Djokovic, who looks like he's going to be the last person to go, and Nadal before that, and Federer before that, and Serena Williams before that. It's a generation, a great generation. And it makes me sad because I already waved goodbye to a couple other tennis generations, and I'm somewhat of a tennis nerd. And so earlier in my life and yours, we waved goodbye to Chris and Martina and John McEnroe and Jimmy Connors and Bjorn Borg and Vilas, all these people. And then we had Sampras and Agassi and Steffi Graf, and, you know, we waved goodbye to them. That was another generation, and Andy Roddick and so on and so on. And now this. And so maybe it's the greatest generation. I don't know. You can argue it. But that's what worries me. And Joker's on the way out. I was saying this weeks ago, even though it looked like he can still physically win, it ain't going to be long if it's long at all.
Yeah, so I watched this clip very early this morning. Obviously, it took place last night. And I heard him say, you know, he did not know the severity of the injury, but, you know, it might keep him out. And he said it, Mike, in such an even tone that I thought nothing of it.
Right.
I thought, of course he's going to play. Of course he's going to play. So I guess he's listening to his body. And I guess his body is telling him this has been a real rough haul in the French Open so far, and we haven't won a tournament all year. And I think, Mike, what he's doing is getting ready for Wimbledon, because he's got a better chance to win Wimbledon than the French. He's got 7 Wimbledons at this point, and he's only got 3 Frenches. You're right about the generation leaving. I appreciate that, and I don't want to plow old ground over and over and over again. You think he's the best ever. I don't, but I think he's very good. He's got 24 majors. That's more than any man. It's the equal of Margaret Court.
Yeah.
It's the most by anybody. Yeah. And people like to knock Margaret Court because 11 of her Australian Open wins, you know, there was a sense that the Americans and the Europeans didn't go to Australia to compete. But she's also got, you know, she's got 3 Wimbledons, 5 French, 5 U.S. Opens. So I don't want to knock her. They're in a rare air. And if you look at his peer group, he's the only one left. And Mike, this may be the way he goes out. This may be the beginning of going out.
Tony, he's going out. I mean, could he get Wimbledon? I guess. But the Sinners and the Alcarazes, no, Tony, it's done. Just like we waved goodbye to all the others. You were there. You and I, people don't realize it. We talk about basketball and football more than anything. We covered a lot of tennis in our lives, and we got to see all these people up front. And they went. And they went at a younger age than these guys with fewer majors. I'm just saying.
That's right.
Let's move to the series we've all been waiting for, speaking of basketball. The NBA Finals start Thursday night with the Tatum Brown Celtics, hoping to win the title that has eluded them. And over in the NHL, the McDavid-Draisaitl Oilers finally get a shot to win their first Stanley Cup. Now, here's a good barroom debate, Tone. Who needs to win a ring more? These Celtics or these Oilers?
I will not hesitate at all. These Celtics, this team, the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown Celtics. In 7 years that they have been together, they have gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals 5 times. They've gotten to the NBA Finals twice, and they have no rings. They haven't been able to close. And, Mike, over that period of time, if they won some stuff, they would be the Golden State Warriors. I don't feel the same way about the Edmonton Oilers. This is their first time in the final in the 9 years that McDavid and Draisaitl have been together. They've only reached the conference finals now 2 different times. I have no doubt that if the Oilers win, it will be the certification of McDavid as one of the all-timers. But I don't even think he gets nicked up that much if they don't win because he's 27 years old. He's got time.
I totally agree, Tone. If McDavid's got some shots, so does Tatum and Brown. But if the Oilers lose, you'll say, okay, it's their first real crack at it. They're still climbing. They're just opening their championship window. And by the way,
That's
Edmonton has had multiple since the Celtics. The Celtics have won one more recently, 2008. But Edmonton had multiples, more recently than the Celtics have had multiples. And so I'm going to say the Celtics and Tatum and Brown. By the way, Tatum and Brown, as great as they are, Tony, and by the way, this is going to fall in Tatum's lap if they don't win. He's going to get the questions all summer long into the Olympics and into the next training camp and into the next season. But if your boy Porzingis, who you said the Celtics are the best team in the league, and there's nothing to contradict you yet, but if Porzingis, who took about 30 seconds to answer a question about whether he was running at full speed with full comfort, if he can't go for real like 90% or better, the Celtics aren't beating the Mavericks in this series. I'm just saying.
I'll give you that. We'll see that on the court.
We will. Too nice.
Here's what's important to notice about this particular series. People who we know who are from Boston, who are Celtics fans, they use the word unreliable. That's their word about the Celtics. They are more afraid that the Celtics are going to lose than confident that the Celtics are going to win.
A lot of that.
But the single pressure, I would disagree with you on one thing. I think the single greatest pressure is going to be on McDavid because he is mentioned as an all-time great. And nobody has ever said of Jason Tatum the following sentence: he's the most skilled player in the NBA.
No, but it's been a while. He's had a few cracks. He's had a few shots at it. And his tag team partner is a $300 million player who's underrated to me. So we'll see if it's worth it. So
we'll see if it's worth it. We move on. Bob Harrig of Sports Illustrated reminds us that we are now at the 1-year anniversary of the announcement that the PGA Tour and the Saudi Tour were going to merge. Not only hasn't that happened, but the Saudi Tour continues to actively poach players like Jon Rahm. And the PGA Tour just got a $1.5 billion investment from some American sports owners. So, Wilbon, does golf still need these tours to merge?
Yeah, Tony, because it's not about everybody's getting rich. There's no debate there. But here's the issue: as golf tries to fight for a bigger spot, to at least hold what it has and increase it in a marketplace with new interests and new eyeballs. It's an international marketplace, and so now you have things competing for attention of sports fans. Women's basketball wasn't out there in the same way it is now 5 years ago, certainly not 10, 15 years ago. International soccer wasn't on the minds of American viewers in the volume that it is now. So golf is saying, wait a minute, as it tries to diversify. I know because I am part of that effort now to get the diverse interests of golf involved, because golf can't grow without more diverse interests. So given all that, you can't have your Rahms and your Koepkas playing somewhere else all summer, because people are going to tune in and say, wait a minute, what am I getting here? So, Tony, it may not be a merger like you and I were used to in football, right? And basketball, the ABA, the AFL. But you got to have all these people performing in one marketplace for people to say, yep, I'm paying for that.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I disagree with it a little bit in this regard. And I've said this before. The road that golf is on right now, where the PGA tournaments are played largely in the United States of America, and the Saudi tournaments are much more international, and they are sporadically on television. The road that golf is traveling on is the road that tennis traveled on, to basically oblivion other than the majors. The only things that count where you can see everybody is the 4 majors. Now, maybe the players tournament will make it 5, and those will be 5 great weeks. But other than that, nobody will really care. And I'll give you an example. I've tried hard to watch the Saudi Tour on TV. I don't understand that stuff on the left of the screen. I have no idea what's going on. I do not embrace the team concept because I do not understand it. I hate the shorts. I hate the shotgun start. So when I watch, Mike, I feel I'm forcing myself to watch. So I watch something more relatable to me, which is the PGA Tour. But Mike, there's been a lot of tournaments this year, a lot where I've looked at the leaderboard, I haven't known anybody. I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So even if it's exciting, 24 hours later, I forget. And I think this is problematic for them. I agree with you that a merger would be good, but Mike, it's going to take somebody smarter than I to deal with the return policy. Because if I stayed on the PGA Tour and you left and made $200 million, I'm not letting you coming back for free. You're going to have to pay reparations.
I didn't say they're not going to be bumps in the road or it's going to be easy to have such a thing. I'm saying they've got to figure it out and get it together. By the way, boxing, which once owned the world and people under 90 won't even understand what we're talking about. Boxing, baseball, and horse racing once ruled American sporting interests.
Right.
Boxing took itself out. Baseball just sort of got clumsy and screwed up with a bunch of this. Boxing took itself out, being fractured. Golf could be fractured. Ain't going to be good, Tone.
Could be.
We agree on that.
Could be.
The result is not good.
Yes. Let's take a break. Coming up, Juan Soto and Aaron Judge are on fire. But would you rather have Mookie and Shohei?
Mookie. And what sort of chance does Coco Gauff have of taking out Iga Swiatek at the French Open?
See, this is the French Open week, one of the 4 weeks or 6 weeks a year that people care. Other than that, these tournaments don't matter.
They don't matter. It's too fractured.
Is that the road you want to go down? It's time for toss-up. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves, finishes the show, then settles in for a night of mediocre baseball between the Mets and the Nats, just as I did last night, just as I did. What's first?
Toss-up, which duo would you rather have? Betts and Ohtani or Soto and Judge?
Okay, as luck would have it, they are playing a weekend series in New York, which for me, Mike, is going to be must-see TV over even the basketball and the hockey because I love baseball that much and I want to see these two teams. If this question came to you first, I would happily take the 2 that you didn't want because I think all 4 are great.
Agree.
So,
agree. Totally agree.
I don't care about that.
Yeah.
In the near term, in the long term rather, I would take Mookie and Shohei because I think Shohei could come back and pitch, and that changes his value enormously. But right now, I'm going to settle in on RBI. If I have these numbers correct, then Mookie and Shohei have 70 RBI, and Judge and Soto already have 100 RBI. They are first and second in all of baseball in OPS. Mookie is 7th, Shohei is 4th. Those are great numbers, but not as great. And the Yankees have a better record than the Dodgers. So that's my rationale.
Well, I wouldn't compare RBI because Mookie's a table setter. I mean, I think I just sat through a series in Los Angeles, at least a game in Los Angeles, and Mookie's setting the table. He's not clearing the plate like the guys in the middle of that Yankee order. So I'm not going to go there on them. And I think Shohei was hitting like second or third. But anyway, I'm taking Mookie and Shohei because Mookie's the best player of the 4. He's had the best, most consistent career of the 4. They're all great. And you know, Soto has a championship already. I'm like you. Yeah. You take 2, I'll take the other 2. But if I got to choose first, I'm going with the best overall player. 2-way, offense, defense, and that is Mookie. Even if Shohei doesn't throw a ball to a batter the rest of his career, I'd be content taking those 2.
No, he doesn't play in the field. And Mookie's playing a new position this year.
Yes.
So I'm not yelling at that. I'm just going the other way.
I got you.
What's next?
Toss up, who you got in the French Open semifinal? Iga Swiatek or Coco Gauff?
I understand the impulse to pick Coco Gauff. Coming out of the U.S. Open win, she's only 20 years old. She has great stardom written all over her. But Swiatek is already a great star, and she's only 23. She's got 4 majors, and 3 of them are the French, which is what we're talking about. She's 10-1 lifetime over Coco Gauff, which I think we would agree is domination, Holmes, and beat her on clay last month in Italy. She just won a 4th-round match and gave up 10 points. 10 points.
She's dominant.
I mean, if you take away the 17 games that she lost in that great match with Osaka, she's only lost 11 games in the rest of the French Open. She just went through the 4th round in the quarters, I believe, losing only 2. So I'm going to bet on Swiatek.
Yeah, yes. I'm not looking at the history of it, even yesterday's history. I'm going to project a little bit. We just talked about tennis. You covered an era where you saw Chris Evert jump to a huge lead on Martina Navratilova, did you not? And then Martina started making up ground, and she made it up in a hurry, and she had to take out Chris, who we both adore. She had to take out Chris to do that. So I'm saying to you, I understand that Swiatek has got this lead. I'm saying to you, Coco Gauff's going to win. It's going to start now. People talked about last summer being her coming out party. It was the end of the summer, which she's going to continue now. I know Swiatek's got this lead. Coco Gauff's the future.
Yeah.
So I see Gauff winning this tournament, yes, in the French, and then, Tony, they can start this partnership where they go back and forth.
You have a 20-year-old as the future and a 23-year-old as cresting and the past.
You know how old you get in tennis. You know how old quickly you get.
That's harsh.
You know?
That's harsh. That's it. Let's take one last break. Still to come. Should the Cowboys be concerned by CeeDee Lamb's no-show at mandatory minicamp?
Oh, really? We got to talk about the Cowboys. Did they get the show wrong for that tease? LeBron shares a regret regarding Kyrie. I don't ever care about the Cowboys until we get to Labor Day. Ever.
I thought you'd like to say, how about them Cowboys? I thought you'd like to say that. Happy time, people. Happy 27th birthday, Marquise Hollywood Brown. The speedy receiver left the Cardinals for the Chiefs this offseason, prompting Travis Kelce to say on his podcast, quote, "Got my dog." For all his excellence last season, Patrick Mahomes was the worst-rated quarterback in football on passes that traveled 20-plus yards downfield, according to Pro Football Focus. The Chiefs hope Brown will change that. Brown got his nickname from announcer Gus Johnson, who was calling one of Brown's college games at Oklahoma. Johnson told azcardinals.com that he didn't know whether Brown's first name was pronounced Marquise or Marcus, but saw on his roster sheet that Brown grew up in Hollywood, Florida. So on a long touchdown catch and run, Johnson proclaimed, "Lights, camera, action, Hollywood Brown."
Gus, Howard University's own. Known him since he was a student, Tony. I love it now in Gus, who's associated with football, like this. When Gus is doing an NBA playoff game, and I heard him and immediately picked up the phone. Love hearing Gus do whatever he does.
Happy anniversary, Don Drysdale. This is posthumous, but on this day 56 years ago, the Dodgers ace pitched his record 6th straight shutout, beating the Pirates 5-0. All told, Drysdale pitched 58 consecutive scoreless innings, a record that stood for 20 years until fellow Dodger Oral Hershiser eclipsed it with 59 in 1988. With Drysdale on the radio mic, Drysdale pitched 8 shutouts in all in 1968, which was only good for second in the league, behind Bob Gibson's 13. Drysdale would only pitch one more season after this one, retiring at 33 due to a torn rotator cuff, just 3 years after Sandy Koufax retired at 30 due to elbow pain.
Curt Schilling is the last guy to have as many as 13 complete games, much less shutouts, and that was in 1998. So I'd like to see one of these mid-level managers who goes crazy over analytics send somebody to the mound to take out Drysdale or Gibson in the 8th inning. What do you think would happen, Tone? How do you think that would go?
The manager would turn around because he'd be threatened with his entire life.
Yes, he would.
I didn't know you didn't like analytics. That's new to me. I get surprised every day. Happy trails to Capita Marcano. Major League Baseball today banned the Padres infielder for life for betting on the game. The league says Marcano made 387 bets on baseball over 2 years and reportedly won 4.3% of them. I'm not a betting expert, but that doesn't sound good. Marcano allegedly wagered on Pirates games 25 times when he was on Pittsburgh's roster, but not playing due to injury. Baseball Today also suspended A's pitcher Michael Kelly and 3 minor leaguers for 1 year for betting on Major League games while in the minors. In related betting news, Shohei Ohtani's ex-translator changed his plea on bank and fraud charges to guilty this morning, and baseball announced it was closing its investigation into the matter.
Yeah, so all the league and network executives and all the other big shots who want to make their bed and get in it with gambling, it's the players. It's these guys who take the full hit, huh? Really?
All right, here we go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
LeBron says he's proud of Kyrie Irving, but bleeping mad that they don't get to play together anymore. Really? Your thoughts?
Stop. Seriously? We're all going to believe that? Stop. CeeDee Lamb is a no-show for the Cowboys. First day of mandatory minicamp. You concerned?
Yeah, everybody should be who roots for the Cowboys. In the last year of his contract, he's a really good player. The 49ers signed Christian McCaffrey to a 2-year extension with $24 million in guarantees. Are you impressed?
No. It seems like he's so much more valuable than that, but we know what the league thinks of running backs. That's just the reality. WNBA tonight. 0-8 Mystics at 8-0 Sun. You smelling upset, Mr. DC?
I'm not smelling anything like upset. No, not a chance. No. Last one, White Sox Cubs, 1-2 tonight. Give me a reason to care.
There's no reason for
team.
you to care. I mean, they both fallen and they can't get up. So I care. I'd like to see the Cubs, who were in first place a few weeks ago, actually win a game again. Can't beat the White Sox. You need to be relegated.
It's okay. I care about the Nats. There's no reason to care. We're out of time. Trying to do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knucklehead. You can get the podcast on the app or Apple Podcasts. I got to give a shout out to Annie Myers Drysdale out in Arizona. Okay? If we're going to mention their name, Drysdale, I got to mention Annie. And now, your sports center.
Recent quarterback contracts, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, all saw big paydays. Over the last 3 seasons, Tua ranked second among these 4 in QBR, but last in touchdown to INT ratio. Here is Tua today.
I'm not frustrated. I'm another word, but yeah.
Agitated, annoyed, bothered.
How about that pause? Just wanting to get something done. That's it. Well, I'll tell you one thing. The market is the market. If we didn't have a market, then none of that would matter. It'd just be an organizational thing, you know? Didn't matter if that guy got paid that because it's up to the organization. So that's what I would say. The market is the market. That's it.
On the scene in Miami Gardens is Dolphins reporter Marcel Louis-Jacques. That pause right there said a heck of a lot without giving us a word. How would you describe the confidence right now with both sides getting a deal done before the start of the season?
Yeah, Kevin, by the way, antsy was the word we finally landed on. Threw a couple more adjectives out there before he finally agreed on one. But yeah, as you heard him say, he's a little, or as you saw from him, he is a little frustrated, pretty visibly so. Despite that, though, he did tell us that he's confident a deal gets done before the start of the regular season. But also, like you did hear him say, the market is the market. So don't expect a hometown discount just so that thing can get pushed through. Now, one thing, Kevin, I do have to add, that player comp I keep hearing from fans and on social media is Jared Goff, right? That $212 million over 4 years. He signed with the Lions last month. But I've spoken with a few sources, both on the front office side and on the contract advising side, and they say that the player comp is actually Justin Herbert, who signed that $262 million deal over 5 years with the Chargers last offseason. Now, Goff's $53 million of average annual value does beat out Herbert's deal, but Herbert has about $20 million more in guarantees in his contract than Goff has. And that is the critical figure here when you're talking contracts in the NFL. Guarantees, not AAV.
And keep in mind, Tua, Herbert, part of that same draft, and Herbert taken right after Tua. And meanwhile, what we've seen over the last couple of years, the emergence of Tua's passing numbers, it helps that you have Tyreek Hill there, and you can throw the deep ball. He spoke on a number of topics, including his quarterback.
What I'm saying out of Tua, man, I ain't gonna lie. When I see Tua at the Pro Bowl, I was kind of scared. Dude was fat as but he was fat, he was chubby. I was like, hold on now. Bruh, hold on, bruh. Ryan Clark said you were kind of thick. Now, he wasn't lying, but seeing him now and where he's come from and how skinny he has gotten, what's that stuff with everybody taking? Ozempic? He had to be taking that, bruh, because I don't know. At the end of the day, if you feel like you top 5 at something, that's like if you work at Amazon. If you like one of the best Amazon delivery drivers, you're gonna feel a certain type of way. Ensuring I'm a Dolphin for life. That's number one, man. That's priority number one, man. But this is obviously the best situation for myself and the family.
The theme here in this segment, the market is the market. Hill with 3 years left on his current contract. Jalen Waddle just got paid, one of his teammates. Justin Jefferson with that landmark deal that he got yesterday here. What's the likelihood that Tyreek Hill gets a new contract in the near future here, Marcel?
Well, Kevin, Tyreek made a couple things pretty clear to us today. The first, like you heard, he wants to be a Dolphin for the remainder of his career. He wants to help this team out. And in his words, being greedy ain't going to help this team out. So I don't think this is a situation like in Kansas City where he wanted to be the highest paid receiver in the NFL. At the same time, though, he wants to be paid like a top 5 receiver for as long as he's playing like a top 5 receiver, and he sure as heck has been for the past couple years here in Miami. Now, in the past, we have seen the Dolphins pacify players who want a little more added onto their deal to keep up with the market value, most notably with Xavier Howard a few years ago. Hill is playing at a higher level than Howard was at that point in time, so I would expect them to kick him a little something just to keep him happy here in Miami for at least the next few years. But he does not sound upset. He doesn't sound disgruntled. He was ecstatic for Jalen Waddle. He said that they came up with a new nickname for him, 28, to represent the average annual value of the deal Waddle signed last week.
And keep in mind, Hill is coming off a career high in receiving yards that led the NFL. Marcel, thank you so much. Speaking of getting paid here.